and welcome back to the NoScore Review Show. I am your host, Nick Green, and today I am joined yet again by Jake Sturkenboom. Welcome back, Jake.
I feel like, I kind of wanted to be on every show this year, but, I felt like I needed to take a step back, not be at the Cocaine Bear one. I feel like I had to, kind of save myself for Creed.
I mean, to be fair, the way things worked out, you actually technically could have been on the Cocaine Bear episode with another guest backing out. But hey, I appreciate you stepping back to let others speak their minds.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. And I don't mean that in a drug way.
Last episode was Cocaine Bear, but that is not what Jake is referring to. Jake, what film are we reviewing today?
I think I just mentioned it. The third Creed movie that we literally just walked out. Well, we didn't walk out on it, but we finished up this movie about 30 minutes ago, and we both went home and we immediately hopped on. We didn't even talk about it.
Nope. Jake was like, started talking, and we're like, nope, nothing. Don't want to hear about it. We're gonna wait.
Completely save it.
Got to save it for the capital Y, capital T YouTube, and the podcast,
and all other podcasting platforms that you can listen to this show on.
It's not just on YouTube; it's on other things as well. But yes, Creed 3. That is what we are here to review today, and with no spoilers for the first bit, going off our general thoughts. Jake, what did you think of Creed 3?
I thought it was a serviceable film. I don't think obviously I don't think it's like groundbreaking, like insane. It follows what I feel is the Rocky blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was played really safe. A lot of innovation. There's some innovation that we'll kind of go into.
Yes.
But I think it was serviceable. It wasn't crazy masterpiece. I think that Michael B. Jordan had a ton of vision as a director, and you see it in this. There's a lot of things that you can tell that he like specifically fought for. And yeah, it's basically it. If you like Rocky movies, if you like, seeing some new stuff, if you're like a combat sports fan, it's good for you.
Totally. I think they made the right decision in keeping it like a focused story on the characters, on two characters in particular. Often with sequels, you like just keep trying to up the ante, and like sometimes you can like jump the shark, which I think is kind of what the Rocky films fell victim to a little bit. They just got absolutely bonkers. Especially for boxing movies, like it got super melodramatic, and there is some melodrama in the Creed films as well, but I think it's definitely a lot more grounded. But yeah, I think that was the smart move. It's a very focused story, and it's all about these two characters and their history together. Adonis Creed and Damian Anderson, who are two like foster brothers, I guess you'd call them, growing up. And then life of crime kind of separated them, and then they rejoin back together, and Damian has it out for Creed, which is how the whole movie kicks off. But yeah, it was really good, focused story. It got pretty stylized towards the end, which I actually was not expecting and really enjoyed. I won't get too much into detail with it, but it was a very cool way to end this film. And I don't think it felt like it was a good pacing, I think, for coming in at like just under 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about this in the pre-show to the film. There was a huge rumor that it was going to be close to 3 hours, and thankfully it wasn't.
Let me clear this up. When I would go to the website to like book the tickets, when to check when advance tickets were going on sale, it said 2 hours and 56 minutes. And I was like, what? Okay.
Well, and I saw articles too that was like Creed 3 is going to be close to 3 hours. And it's like, man, that is a lot of movie for a boxing film.
Yeah. But it turns out it went from 2 hours and 56 minutes to 1 hour and 56 minutes.
Yes.
Which is, thank you.
If you are like us and thought that was the case, fear not. It is just under 2 hours, and it is a good pace, I feel. I don't think anything felt it didn't feel too much like there was any sort of fat to be trimmed from it. I think it was pretty solid across the board. There were maybe like a couple scenes here and there that could have been reworked or like looked over a little bit more before going to like principal photography, but I think still overall really good.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd say I just to piggyback off the whole pacing thing, I think that the length was good for the movie. I just think that perhaps the structure, I feel. I feel
yeah,
like I feel like
totally.
the length was good, but you needed to focus on different parts. For me personally, I thought the 3rd act was pretty damn rushed. I thought it was like
Yeah,
well, I don't wanna get too much into spoilers, but I'll just say for now, but,
yeah, no, that's
I
okay.
think the ending was a little fast, if anything. I feel like
Hmm.
they spent a lot of time in the, um in the middle. There's a lot of middle stuff going on.
Yeah.
I feel like if they even tossed on, like, an extra 10 to 15 minutes to that 3rd act, I would've been okay with it.
Hmm.
But yeah, just, I feel like they could've focused on different parts, but I don't think that really takes away from it didn't ruin my experience. As someone who enjoys combat sports, went in wanting to see some fight scenes, and
Hmm.
I think that's where that this film shines. I think the fight scenes
Absolutely.
were
The
I like
choreography was amazing.
when you see that Michael B. Jordan's directing this movie, and this is what I was thinking about. When you see like an actor kind of take over, it's like, okay, he wants to see what his vision of Creed is. He's had these other directors. I know for a fact that this guy was like, I want to have badass fights,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be the number one thing I focus on. And the movie, I really kind of like you can tell that the fight scenes were the number one thing that they wanted to nail, and they freaking nailed it. But I
Yeah.
thought everything else was kind of the drawback, if anything.
Sure. Yeah. I think did you hear about some of the news stories that were coming out about how Michael B. Jordan had a lot of anime
Yeah,
influence
no,
in
yeah,
the direction of this
and
film?
and right when you get into it, it's like, yeah, okay. I don't think it's a spoiler, but the beginning is like a flashback, and you see his room, and his he has a Naruto
Yeah.
thing on his wall, and I'm like,
Yeah, he
okay,
does.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was he took some big influence there, but it paid off in like dividends because like not just in the choreography and the camera work in the fight scenes themselves, but also in the whole storyline. It's like when we're talking about a little bit of the melodrama, a
Yeah,
little bit, right? It's like long lost like foster brother coming back for revenge type thing, right?
yeah,
But I think it played off very well. The the very beginning boxing match, not to get too into spoilers, but that like really sets the tone for how the rest of the film is going to play out in terms of how the fights go down.
yeah.
And it was a strong foot to start off with. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know. I think like when we were talking a bit more about sequels. I don't know that it exceeds the prior two, but I think it sticks the landing of the trilogy. I think it's a very good note to end on. It's like I think it probably I would say probably just like diminishing returns to put it a term on it for the trilogy. Just going off memory, I haven't watched the first two in a while now, but
Same.
I still like uh as of right now, I prefer the first one the most, and the second one's really good. But yeah, like this is a really great film to end the trilogy on.
I'd say as a sequel, it really works. And I was even thinking, would something like this, even if it didn't have a Creed or a Rocky staple on it, would this be a good standalone film? I think it would. I think
I think so
it's a
too.
good basis,
Yeah.
and it follows that up with good style. And
Hmm.
yeah,
I agree. And with that, I think we will start to talk about spoilers. So
spoiler
if
time.
you do not want to know anything about what happens in Creed 3, or you just don't want to know anything about the other two Creed films, because we might bring that up as well, then click off now, go see the movie. and then come back and see what we have to say about the spoiler-filled review.
Spoiler
Or
time.
if you don't, oh, there we go. We got sound effects.
Spoiler time. Spoilers.
Spoilers, get out of here now.
Get out of here.
All right. Highlights and lowlights, Jake.
Starting off with highlights.
Sure, yeah.
Let's do
Let's
it.
start high.
The fight scenes.
Hell
The
yeah.
fight scenes. The fight scenes. The cold open when he's fighting. What's the actual boxer's name? His name is like Mikey Conlon in the movie, but I think it's Tony
right.
Bellew. It's Tony Bellew that he's fighting, and I freaking loved it when he would like dodge and be like, "Oh, his body's open."
Yeah,
And he's like,
it reminded me a bit of
viewing
like
it.
the Sherlock Holmes, like the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes films, where like Sherlock's breaking down the fight. Have you seen
Yeah,
those films?
yeah.
Yeah,
You
those
know,
were
it was just like,
those great.
it was so cool. You like, because honest, I've never been in the ring fighting someone, but to me, that's kind of what it feels like. Even though like maybe your brain shuts off, everyone is like gone from around you, which we'll get to in a moment.
You
But
sure will.
just that's setting the tone of like, this is the style of fighting that we're going to be doing. I know that
Mhm.
in the original Creed they did a lot of like one take kind of style,
Right.
like
Yeah, yeah.
like all that, but this was more
This had more
um
style to it,
yes, it
I
did.
think.
Other than just doing like not a one take, but rather just cool shots
Yeah.
and being able to go inside the mind of a fighter. Oh, his
Mhm.
body's open now. I'm going to attack that later. His
Yeah.
corner comes into him. Like his corner isn't seeing what he's seeing in the ring. So they're like,
Mhm.
"Hey, what's wrong? Like, are you going to start doing things now?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "Checkmate." I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
goodness, he's about to end this guy."
Mhm.
But such a great cold open. And then I guess we'll just jump to the final fight when I didn't expect any of this to happen. Like when they go
No.
into whatever round and the crowd disappears. They're in a
Yeah, I think it's
smoky,
round,
empty arena.
11, 12? Like one of the final rounds,
One of
pretty
the
much.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I did not expect that, and I was
No.
so surprised by that. It was just so cool to see. Very reminiscent of COVID times when, say, the UFC had an empty arena and they were
Oh,
all
yeah.
fighting, and you hear every shot,
Yeah, yeah, you don't get any of the surrounding
and
crowd sounds or anything like that.
and like I mentioned, it was so cool to have something like that happen because I feel like if you were to actually fight, sorry, um, that's how it feels. You don't see anyone around you. You're only
Mhm.
focused on what's right in front of you. And I thought that like that's that's you're kind of going inside the mind of Michael B. Jordan when he's in there, probably because
Yeah.
he needs to get into that mindset that he is a fighter.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's what his coach
yeah,
was like giving him that little pep talk right before then, right? Of like, forget about the past, forget about the future, just focus on right now and get into your head a little bit, right?
yes,
And
exactly.
it was so cool. And it just like distills what that whole story is about that whole time, right? It's like it's taking away everything around them. It's just focusing on these two men,
Yeah,
right? And they're butting heads with each other. And you can tell, like, even before that whole like stylization happens, you can see it in their eyes. Like they're while they're like walking around the ring, they're like they're having a conversation and they're not saying anything in the ring, right?
yeah,
Like you can tell the pain that's going between them and the hurt that like is coming from them and like to each other, right?
yeah,
It was a very well done final fight. But yeah, the whole stylization, this like probably my biggest highlight of the film was like that whole stylization. It brings in like the jail bars from
yes,
Damien's like time in prison, which was really cool. Just the sound design was fantastic as
yeah,
well. They really took advantage of uh, you being able to hear every punch and feel like all of their exhales, and like without all of that distracting noise. I
yeah.
think it really lent to that scene. Um,
Just
another high. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
oh, I was just gonna say, just continuing off of this final fight thing, no score. You know, you guys do games. This final fight felt like a final boss fight. It felt like there was
Yeah.
phases to it, and
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and it was so cool. It was like okay, we finished this first part. Now we're into this next sequence where no one's here, but there's jail bars and all this stuff. Okay, you're almost there. 12th round. And then let's just Rocky this up as much as possible. I get knocked
Totally.
down, and I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna knock you out. Just if the Rock, if these fights happen in real life, it would be insane.
Yeah.
But another detail I want to talk about. I'm sorry,
No, no, no. Go
I'm
ahead.
just all over this final fight. Another detail that I really, um, I watch a lot of combat sports, and I'm so glad that they did this because every single fight in this franchise, being honest, it's pretty unrealistic.
Yeah.
Boxers don't go out and fucking go boom, ba, 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 ba. Like they don't
Yeah.
do that like all the time. But in this final fight, there's that one moment where no one is throwing. They're both nervous. They're both doing whatever, and the crowd
Yeah.
starts booing and getting to them. And that happens so much in boxing. So much in boxing, in mixed martial arts. If no one like if they're kind of just like standing there doing their thing, that crowd starts to get on them.
Egg them on. Yeah,
And
I
then
bet.
they kind of get back to earth and they get into their crazy fight. But I
Mhm.
don't I just feel like sprinkling in a little bit of that kind of realism. Is that the way to say it? Because Rocky fights aren't realistic, but just having that little bit of
It's a
sprinkle
nice
of
balance, I think, right?
yes.
Because, like, you
Yeah.
have those moments, and then you can also, like, ham it up and have that, like, oh, he gets knocked down, and he's, like, just taking a second to, like, have those, flashbacks and everything, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm gonna get back up and have the triumphant final, punch," or whatever, right?
Imagine that. You just get knocked out in boxing. Got refs counting. Let's just hold on. Just let me get my flashback first. Then just tell me when
Let
you're
me
at
find
nine
my
and I'll stand up.
motivation.
Yeah. Okay.
That was
I
a
think that's all I have to say about the final fight.
okay, yeah, that was a great piece of the final act for sure. I think something else I really appreciated. I think it maybe could have used a little bit more work in the script, but I did appreciate this whole arc of Adonis um, battling with opening up to his wife and
Yeah.
like to his family, right? He's still very much shut in and like closed off. Um, but when Damien shows up, that just compounds even more, right? And he's very standoffish and he's very like hesitant and he's trying to repress all those memories that he's had.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated those scenes with oh, what's her name? Tessa
Tessa
Thompson's
Thompson.
character, Bianca, where she's like pushing and pushing him to like try and open up, and he finally like cracks, and after the fight he has that heart to heart with Damien, which I
Yeah.
thought was a very well I thought it was a very welcome character arc, and one I'd love to see more of, having these like closed off uh what's the word, typical masculine, like strong hyper masculine figures like opening up and embracing their like vulnerable side, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I still think it was very like bare bones, and in the first stages of development I think a little bit more character work and script development could have been had, but I think a step in the right direction basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I all the acting was great. Like Tessa Thompson got like a little bit of time to do her thing. She's always great
For
to watch
sure.
on screen. Um, and Jonathan Majors, man,
Mm,
like it's the freaking year of
is
Jonathan Majors.
we're eating good this year.
We're eating good, man.
We're eating
Like
good this year.
Quantumania, Creed 3, and then there's also a movie that came out at Sundance that he did recently that I really want to see because I've been hearing really good things. Magazine
Um.
Dreams.
Okay.
Um, it's like I'm hearing it's the performance to watch when it's like comes down to award season this time next year.
Okay.
So I definitely want to check that out because I'm already riding such a big high from Quantumania and now Creed 3.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he was fantastic in this movie. You could definitely see the amount of pain that that character had. He wasn't a two-dimensional, one-note like antagonist, right? You definitely understood his story, understood his relationship with Adonis. And yeah, I just have been enjoying everything I've seen of Jonathan Majors so far, and I can't wait to see more of him. Um, and yeah, I also really appreciated. I was like a little unsure of if we were gonna get any sort of. I also don't remember how Creed 2 ends. I don't think Rocky dies, right? In Creed 2. Do you remember at all?
No.
Or
No. I think he was supposed to be in this one, but they kind of tiptoed around it.
okay, yeah. Yeah, that's basically where I was getting to was like I was unsure if there was going to be a surprise like Rocky cameo or flashback or something, but
Didn't die.
it very much
Confirmed.
stuck to its guns of just being about Adonis, which I really admired honestly. It helped like focus the story on him and his relationship with Damien.
Yep.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Any other sort of the music was great. I
Yep.
loved that remix of the Dr. Dre song in the flashback
Oh yeah.
at the very beginning. Um, and yeah, do you have any other highlights, or if you want to get into some lowlights at all, Jake?
I guess just another thing, just something I picked up from someone who's like watched boxing and all that is them giving a spotlight to all these people who work in like the broadcast for like boxing fights, like the ring announcers, them doing DAZN and
Oh yeah.
Showtime, kind of shining a
Oh
spotlight on the
yeah,
ring
that Showtime
announcers, the
promo that
comment.
was fun. That was a fun
Yeah,
like fourth wall
doing the
break.
24/7 because that's an
Yeah, yeah,
actual show they do.
yeah.
It's 24/7 their documentary series, and then they gave I don't know the name of the ring announcer for the final fight, but he's one of DAZN's like main
Oh cool.
guys. And I'm so glad that they didn't do that. They used him over say like a Michael Buffer, to
Hmm.
come in and say let's get ready to rumble. But seeing
Yeah,
him
yeah.
is so cool that they were getting this kind of spotlight. You can tell that he knows who's in the boxing space and all that. Yeah, yeah, that's
That's
all.
cool. It makes it just feel that much more real, right? When you're
Yes.
incorporating these actual normal everyday broadcasts and programs that are running all the time, it
Yeah.
just makes it feel that much more real and these characters more real.
Mhm.
Um, that what was it? It's not like it's like a radio show or like a podcast type show where Creed. It's when
Oh,
Damien
first
calls
take.
in. Yeah,
That's
first
okay.
take.
That's I was gonna save that for the lowlights if we want to get into it.
Sure, yeah, totally.
I feel like that was just so they could get Stephen A. Smith in, the host. He's
Okay.
like a big
Is that a
sports
real?
person. He's a
Is that a
big
real
sports
show?
personality in the US. He's very popular.
Okay.
So First Take is like a daily debate show where they kind of just talk about where they have topics and sometimes like Creed they have guests on.
Hmm.
Um I thought that was a very that wasn't an accurate depiction of what the show
Mm,
actually is. It was
gotcha.
just kind of a way to get Stephen A. Smith in the movie, I
I
feel.
see.
Um Damien calling in, I feel like something like that is very unrealistic.
Hmm.
Saying like, we actually have someone on the line right now.
Right. Yeah.
That's yeah. See, that's
Hamming it up a little bit.
can I get into the lowlights now?
I would be honored if you would.
Okay, awesomeness. Um, it's the way that I kind of said that they could have structured the film better. I feel like there should have been more build to the final fight. Like they should have had like a press conference, the weigh-ins. Oh, maybe there's like a little thing about someone not being able to make weight or something like that.
Hmm.
And that's another thing. That's how you could have incorporated First Take is have them both on First Take as like a face-to-face kind of thing. That's another thing they do in the boxing world. They do this thing called face to face where the two fighters and a mediator, there's a mediator who asks them questions and then they kind of answer it, but they're really just talking shit the whole time.
Hmm.
That would have been a very cool sequence if they had that.
They
But yeah,
kind
just
of
like
had that like face to face moment when Adonis goes to the beach, but again, like kind of how you're saying it was like structured a little bit weird. Like that might have been
yeah.
played better closer towards the end
Well,
of the
what I mean
second act.
is what I mean by face to face is like it's like it's
Like an
fight
actual
week.
program. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
fight week, and it's like a media kind of thing they do where
Sure.
they sit at a table and they're facing each other,
Yeah.
and
Maybe
it's just stuff
something
like
like
that.
that would have been better instead of that uh real talk or whatever, the real take.
It's called First Take. Well,
First take.
there needs to be a way for them to say like I'm challenging you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
true. That's true. Yeah.
I just feel there should have been more build. Maybe like what's kind of the I guess that they were kind of teasing the daughter wanting to fight. I feel like
That
that could have been
that was a
taken
low
like
light for me. Yeah.
yeah,
That was,
because
I think,
either
to give it the benefit of the doubt a little bit, I can kind of see how it played into the overarching narrative of Adonis like opening up and not always resorting to like violence and stuff.
yeah,
But it was kind of a weak connection. And I think, like, kind of how I said earlier, developing the script a little bit further and taking a bit more time probably could have
yeah,
ironed those wrinkles out. That whole kind of side storyline of like, oh, our daughter is interested in fighting because you're all about fighting, right? Like, that was kind
yeah,
of unnecessary side plot because it didn't really amount to much in the end.
yeah.
um, I also wanted to mention, I think the flashback sequences, while I think they worked well overall, I think they could have packed an even bigger punch had they been used in different moments. I just think the structuring of them at times was a little odd, but I think they still worked. I really liked the opening uh, of the film, like
Yes.
as with them as kids, right, and then it transitions into the cold open boxing match. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
See, I think the way that they did the flashback was kind of good actually. Like,
okay, sure,
don't give us everything at once. Keep us guessing. The
yeah,
entire
yeah,
time I'm thinking, like what happened? Like,
hmm,
um, it wasn't necessarily I, I like you keep on thinking, what did they do? What led to all this?
yeah. I
And I'm glad
actually
that
thought I
they.
had missed something like early
Me
on in the
too. Me
film
too.
when Damien was talking to
Yeah.
Tessa Thompson's character.
Yeah.
Um, but I do appreciate that like slow rollout of information to the audience. I In a couple of the other sequences though, when it wasn't pertaining as much to like uh the events of what they actually did in that flashback, it was just like maybe more so like stylistically. Although I will say I really enjoyed the like flashback in the ring in the final fight where they're
Yes. Like
on break in
yeah.
their corners and they like flash back to them as kids, and they're
So
wearing the
good.
same colors too as they're wearing in the ring,
Hmm.
which was already established in the beginning. That was just great.
Yeah.
But
Very good.
yeah, I think a bit more development with like the script, and maybe a bit reworking in terms of the events could have elevated this film a bit more. But I still think, like, I mean, I already said to you, Jake, this is probably my favorite film of the year now. Um, so yeah, if
Same
that's
for
not
me.
what you're working with,
It's well, not my favorite this year. Definitely up there. Top two.
sure,
Um, but yeah, no, it's definitely like I say many times, very serviceable.
exactly. I think also because this was directed by Michael B. Jordan, but I want to double check if this was his debut. I feel like it's not, but it might be.
Uh,
Director?
no,
No, it's his
this is
debut.
debut.
Okay. Well, I guess having known that now, I think it was a fantastic debut for him. I mean, he's like those various promos have said, for the past like month or so, he's lived with this character for like ten years almost now.
I've been living with this character for 8 years.
Yeah. 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 So I mean, he knows the ins and outs of this like trilogy now. So I
Yeah,
think who better if not like Ryan Coogler, who did a fantastic job with Creed 1 and 2.
yeah.
Um then yeah, the man playing him. Oh, Ryan Coogler did not direct Creed 2. I'm just seeing this now.
Oh
But I think he
my.
was producing and writing.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I digress. Michael B. Jordan, fantastic job directing, and I would love to see him do more directing in the future. I think he's got the chops for it. I'd love to see more of what he has in mind for like stylistic choices
Yeah,
going forward in different films. Um, but yeah,
of course.
what else? Surprisingly, this is kind of more of an anecdote than anything. Surprisingly, our theater was like almost empty.
It was almost
It
empty,
was like almost less than
and
10 people.
if anything, maybe I would have enjoyed this movie better with a full theater.
I agree. I agree.
Um, really, if anything, there were scenes when it was so quiet, and I was just in my seat, like, don't move a muscle.
Don't breathe.
Like back to my right, all I hear is like a chair creaking, and I'm like, oh my god, man.
Yeah,
I'll always appreciate like a pretty empty theater, but I feel like for this one, see it with the biggest crowd possible.
totally. Yeah.
I
If you
don't feel,
can,
yeah,
yeah, if your theater is packed, I think it'll lend to the experience that much more. That like communal energy will help, especially in those fight sequences. Um,
for sure.
because it's like you're seeing a live sports event, right? Like it's
Did you see
the
the tweet I sent you?
anticipation. The tweet?
Did you see the tweet I sent you?
No, I don't. I don't think
Okay.
I saw
If
it.
you're able to put it on the screen right now, it's while the credits are rolling in Creed, and there's two guys like fighting in the theater.
What?
So
Let
funny.
me look at this right now.
It says
I'm gonna look at
it's
us.
like Creed 3 is so hype that it has people fighting in the theater. It's so good.
Oh my god!
Dude, it's like,
What?
I know.
No freaking way! Holy
Oh,
crap!
yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
if that doesn't sell you on going to see Creed 3, then
It's
I don't
that
know what
hype.
will. Yeah, that's the 4D experience you don't want at the theater. Just getting clocked
Oh
in
my
the
god.
seats. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, one pro and one con, Jake,
One pro and one
for Creed
con.
3.
I will say my pro, definitely the innovation they took with the fighting sequences, and
Mhm.
let's say the anime influence on
Hell
this
yeah.
one. My con will be the lack of fight hype leading up to the final fight, because I feel like in boxing that's the big thing, the build up to the fight. A lot of fighters, they want the theatrics, they want to, you know, bring out the bring out all the tricks or
Mhm.
whatever, because in like a fight build up, one of the best parts of building a fight is seeing them face off, looking into each other's eyes, and with those like I'm gonna kill you eyes.
Mhm.
And I know, wait, we didn't even touch on it. Maybe, let's make this my con. I was very let down by the training montage.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and I think it kind of plays into that feeling of it being rushed, right? Like
Yeah,
it I think with the other two montages, if we're going to compare them to the first two films, from my recollection at least, uh Adonis was like at a much lower point, I think, uh
yeah,
prior to those montages, and I think that's what those like storytelling tools can help do in a story like this, is lift that character out of that low point, right?
yeah,
It didn't feel like he was that um it didn't feel like he was at that low point, right? Like he had that moment on the beach with Damien, but like other than that, it wasn't. I guess I don't really remember how specifically it played out um, in the film, but like his mom dying could have maybe played more into that whole uh sequence a little bit
yeah.
more. I can't really remember off the top of my head at the moment how those scenes played out in relation to each other, but that could have maybe helped. But yeah, that montage was a little bit underwhelming, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah.
I'd say like
Um,
me personally, I just eat up like the old, like the classic 80s ones.
mhm.
For me, like the Hearts on Fire Rocky 4, like no, like the training montage Rocky 4 into Hearts on Fire, that's just like chef's kiss. That is like
Masterpiece.
you want to watch that before you work out.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
just
I
my cup of
was
tea though.
yeah, I would say and I mean the music could have been stronger too. Like a stronger song choice maybe could have helped with
Yeah.
that. Um yeah.
Well,
Not the film to go to for training montage and workout motivation, I would say.
yeah,
My
most definitely.
pro would probably be the addition of the character arc of Adonis of opening up to his family
Yep.
and letting go of his past and dealing with his demons. Um, and then my con would probably be just the overall uh, like arrangement of scenes and maybe scene choices. Like we said earlier, the second act kind of felt a little bit bloated and caused the third act to feel a little rushed.
Yes.
So maybe a bit more script time could have helped with that, or at the very least, just more time in the editing room. At the very
Yeah.
least, but yeah, I think a strong recommendation from myself, Jake. I feel like you're probably in the same boat.
Yeah. Go see it if you like sports movies. It's up there. It's
Yeah. If you like the first
good
two,
time.
this is a great note to end on. And if you like uh, Michael B. Jordan and if you like Jonathan Majors, then that is definitely worth the price of admission, I would say. And yeah, that's where we'll leave this episode of the No Score Review Show. Thank you all so much for watching and or listening to this episode. Jake, thank you so much for joining me. Where
Always
can
happy
the
to be
people
here.
find you?
They can find me on letterboxd.com/Sturkenboom, Sturkenboom, as in boom, as in
Boom!
explosion, as
As an
always.
explosion.
Yes.
Excellent.
And
And do you have any
that's
recommendations?
any recommendations. Watch all the Scream movies.
Watch all the
We got the
Scream
we
movies.
got
That feels
we got
directed towards me.
we got Scream V coming out next week.
Scream
So
B. Yeah.
Scream V. So get ready for that. Maybe there might be a little bit of might be a little bit of a sneak peek, if anything, for what's coming up.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did mention it in my Cocaine Bear episode last time
Oh
that it will
yes,
be coming down the pipeline. But
awesomeness.
yes, Scream 6 is coming soon, and the review will be coming soon after that. And then what else? Shazam, Fury of the Gods is later this month. That will probably be getting a review as well.
65 John Wick.
65, John Wick. Yeah, March is a loaded month
It's
for movies.
loaded. Dude,
So,
I'm very excited for what's coming up. Like
yeah,
even April into May, June, July. Oh, just,
it's looking to be a good summer. Good summer
oh
for movies.
yes. Oh yes.
But yeah, until then, you can stick right here wherever you're listening to or watching this episode. I did, like we've mentioned numerous times this episode, I did a review for Cocaine Bear
Oh
with my
yes.
good friends Shay Martin and Michael Bentley. And you could also go check out mine and Jake's review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania
Hey,
if
Shay was there
you're wanting
too,
to
right?
find out. Yes,
Was
Shay
Shay
was
there for
also
that? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yes.
Shay was there too.
Uh, if you want to hear us talk about oogling over Jonathan Majors some more, if you're into video game Let's Play content, I do Let's Plays over on my YouTube channel at NoScore Plays. I've got a marathon of Resident Evil Remake Let's Play videos coming out in anticipation for Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Gotta go watch
And
that.
if you're also into indie game Let's Plays, I play a variety of indie games every now and then. And then otherwise, you can find me on all the socials at NoScore or at NoScore Reviews. So thank you all so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.